Why does it seem that in a world so connected, so saturated with opportunity, so brimming with technological wonders, we feel lonelier, more restless, and more dissatisfied than ever before? Why, despite living in an age of unprecedented comfort and achievement, does life often feel hollow, as if we are merely skimming its surface, never truly touching its depths? This is not just an intellectual problem, it's a deeply personal one that haunts many of us in our quietest moments. Something about modern life feels profoundly wrong. The rhythm of our lives has changed, and with it, our sense of purpose, meaning, and connection has eroded. We might begin by asking, what is it that makes a life feel full? Is it an accomplishment? Connection? A sense of belonging? Peace? Or perhaps it is something less tangible, something harder to define but easy to recognize when it is missing. Whatever it is, it seems as though modern life has systematically stripped it away. And perhaps this is the heart of the issue. Modernity, for all its promises, has created lives that are frantic, fragmented, and ultimately devoid of the coherence and depth we crave. But why? What has gone so fundamentally wrong? Let's examine one key feature of modernity: the relentless pursuit of productivity. We live in a time when our worth often feels tied to what we can produce, how quickly we can move, and how much we can achieve. We are told to hustle, to grind, to maximize our potential on the surface. This seems like a noble aspiration. Who wouldn't want to make the most of their life, to achieve great things? But look closer, and you'll see the cracks in this ideology. When life becomes a constant race to do more, to be more, something essential is lost. Time itself becomes something to use rather than something to experience. We are always rushing toward the next goal, the next milestone, the next task, and in doing so, we forget how to simply exist. When was the last time you truly felt present? Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally present in a way that made time seem to stretch and deepen, rather than slip through your fingers? For many of us, the answer is I can't remember. This is not a coincidence. Our modern world is designed to keep us distracted, to fill every moment with noise, activity, and stimulation.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Even our leisure time has been colonized by the logic of productivity. We no longer relax simply to relax, we relax to recharge, to optimize ourselves for the next round of work. Is it any wonder, then, that we feel perpetually exhausted, not just physically but spiritually? But exhaustion is only part of the problem. There is also a profound sense of disconnection that seems to define modern life. We are more connected than ever before, but this connection is often shallow and transactional. Social media, for example, gives us the illusion of closeness while eroding the very conditions that make genuine connection possible: time, attention, and vulnerability. We scroll through endless feeds of curated lives, comparing ourselves to others, feeling inadequate, and yet unable to look away. This kind of connection does not nourish us, it drains us, leaving us lonelier than ever. And then there is the issue of meaning. Human beings are meaning-making creatures. We need to feel that our lives have purpose, that our actions matter, that we are part of something larger than ourselves. But modern life has a way of eroding meaning at every turn. Secularization has stripped away many of the traditional sources of meaning, such as religion and community, without offering anything equally robust in their place. At the same time, the culture of consumerism tells us that meaning can be found in what we buy, what we own, and what we achieve. But this is a lie. No amount of possessions or accomplishments can fill the void left by a lack of genuine purpose. So what do? How do we navigate a world that seems designed to make us feel empty, anxious, and disconnected? The first step, I think, is to recognize that the problem is not just individual, it is systemic. It's easy to blame ourselves for feeling this way, to think that we are somehow deficient or broken. But the truth is that we are living in a culture that actively undermines our ability to live fulfilling lives. This is not an excuse to give up or wallow in despair, but it is an invitation to see the problem for what it is and to begin the difficult work of reclaiming our lives. One place to start is by questioning the narratives we have been given about what makes a life valuable. Does success really mean climbing the corporate ladder, accumulating wealth, and achieving status? Or is there another kind of success, one that is quieter, more personal, and less concerned with external validation? What would it look like to redefine success on our own terms, to prioritize things like connection, creativity, and inner peace over constant achievement? Another step is to reclaim our relationship with time. Time is not just a resource to be managed, it is the very fabric of our lives. If we are always rushing, always looking ahead to the next task or goal, we miss the beauty and richness of the present moment. This doesn't mean we should abandon ambition or stop planning for the future, but it does mean that we need to find ways to slow down, to create spaces in our lives where we can simply be. This might mean setting aside time each day for reflection, for creativity, or for simply doing nothing. It might mean rethinking how we approach work, leisure, and even relationships. And speaking of relationships, we need to address the ways in which modern life has eroded our connections with one another. Genuine connection requires more than just proximity or communication. It requires presence, attention, and a willingness to be vulnerable. This is not easy in a world that often prioritizes efficiency and convenience over depth and authenticity. But if we want to feel less empty, we need to invest in relationships that nourish us, that challenge us, and that remind us of what it means to be human. Finally, we need to confront the question of meaning head-on. What is the purpose of your life? This is not a question that can be answered quickly or easily, but it is one that demands our attention. For some, meaning might be found in relationships, in creativity, or in service to others. For others, it might be found in spirituality, in nature, or in the pursuit of knowledge. Whatever it is unlikely to be handed to you by the culture around you. Meaning is something you must seek, create, and nurture for yourself. But let me ask you something: are you willing to take this challenge seriously? Are you willing to step away from the noise, the distractions, and the pressures of modern life to ask the hardest questions about who you are and what you want? Or will you allow yourself to be carried along by the currents of a culture that does not have your best interests at heart? These are not easy questions, and there are no easy answers. But they are questions worth asking, because the alternative is to continue living a life that feels hollow, restless, and disconnected. And that, I think, is no life at all. If modern life feels emptier than ever, it's not just because of what we have lost, but because of what we have replaced it with. We live in a time when the rhythms of life have been broken into fragments, where even the most fundamental aspects of human existence, our time, our relationships, our sense of purpose, have been commodified, measured, and optimized. But what does this optimization lead to? Does it make us happier? Does it make us more alive? Or does it strip away the very things that make life worth living? Let's consider the structure of time in modern life. Time, as we now experience it, has become atomized. It is no longer a flowing river that carries us. It's a series of points, disconnected and fleeting. This is the nature of what Byung-Chul Han calls atomized time. Each moment becomes a task, an event, a transaction. There is no continuity, no sense of progression, no narrative that ties these moments together. We live day to day, hour to hour, checking off boxes, moving from one thing to the next, but never pausing long enough to understand what it all means. In the past, time was tied to cycles, rituals, and stories. Agricultural societies lived by the rhythm of the seasons. Religious communities structured their lives around sacred calendars, festivals, and rites of passage. Even family life had its own natural rhythms: birth, growth, marriage, death, each marked by ceremonies that gave these transitions weight and meaning. But in modern societies, these structures have eroded. Time is no longer something we inhabit, it is something we consume. We are always running out of time, wasting time, trying to make the most of our time. And in this rush, we lose the ability to experience time as something deep and expansive. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you allowed yourself to truly linger in a moment? Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. When was the last time you sat with an experience, whether joyful or painful, long enough to let it fully unfold, without rushing to move on to the next thing? For many of us, this kind of lingering feels almost impossible. We are so conditioned to be productive, to maximize our time, that we have forgotten how to simply exist within it. This frantic relationship with time affects every aspect of our lives, including our relationships. Modern relationships are often marked by a kind of restlessness, a refusal to commit fully, to endure the slow, sometimes difficult work of building deep and lasting connections. Instead, we move quickly from one relationship to the next, seeking novelty, excitement, and instant gratification. Serial monogamy, dating apps, and even the way we communicate through text messages and social media reflect this trend. Depth is replaced by speed, intimacy by convenience. And while this might feel liberating in the short term, it leaves us with a profound sense of isolation in the long term. But why is it that we shy away from depth? Why do we avoid the kind of relationships, activities, and experiences that require patience, effort, and vulnerability? Perhaps it's because depth requires us to confront ourselves in ways that can be uncomfortable, even painful. A deep relationship forces us to face our insecurities, our fears, our flaws. A deep experience, whether it's a work of art, a spiritual practice, or a moment of stillness, requires us to slow down, to let go of distractions, and to be fully present. And in a culture that prizes speed, efficiency, and surface-level gratification, this kind of depth can feel almost alien. Yet, without depth, life becomes shallow, and shallow lives are unsatisfying. Imagine a life where every interaction, every experience, every moment is reduced to its most transactional form. This is the life many of us are living, whether we realize it or not. We measure our worth by our productivity, our popularity, our possessions. We fill our time with activities that keep us busy but not fulfilled. We seek connection but settle for likes, comments, and digital interactions. And all the while, we wonder why we feel so empty. Now, let's shift our focus to meaning. What does it mean for a life to have meaning? This is one of the most ancient and enduring questions of philosophy, and it remains just as urgent today. In modern life, meaning is often seen as something we must create for ourselves. Without the overarching narratives of religion, tradition, or community, we are left to find or invent our own purpose. This can be liberating, but it can also be overwhelming. How do you decide what matters in a world that offers so many choices but no clear direction? For many, meaning is tied to achievement. We are told that if we work hard, succeed, and reach our goals, we will feel fulfilled. But this is a dangerous illusion. Achievements can bring satisfaction, but they are rarely enough to sustain a sense of meaning. Once we reach one goal, there is always another waiting. The satisfaction of accomplishment is fleeting, and the pursuit of it often leaves us feeling exhausted and unfulfilled. Others seek meaning in consumption. We are constantly bombarded with messages that tell us happiness lies in the things we buy: the clothes, the gadgets, the experiences. But this, too, is a lie. Consumption might offer a temporary thrill, but it cannot fill the deeper voids in our lives. In fact, it often exacerbates them, creating a cycle of desire and disappointment that leaves us feeling even emptier than before. So if meaning cannot be found in achievement or consumption, where can it be found? Perhaps the answer lies not in what we do or have, but in how we live. Meaning is not something that can be measured or quantified. It is not something we can earn or acquire. It is something we must cultivate, something that arises from the way we engage with the world and with ourselves. Think about the moments in your life that have felt truly meaningful. Were they the moments when you achieved something great or acquired something new? Or were they the moments when you felt deeply connected to another person, to a place, to an idea, or to yourself? Were they the moments when you allowed yourself to be fully present, to experience life in all its complexity and beauty? These are the moments that give life depth and meaning, and they cannot be rushed, optimized, or commodified. But here's the hard truth: living a meaningful life requires courage. It requires us to resist the pressures of modern culture, to slow down when everything around us is speeding up, to choose depth over convenience, and to value connection over consumption. It requires us to confront our fears, our insecurities, and our discomforts, and to embrace the messy, unpredictable nature of life. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to challenge the narratives that have been handed to you and to create a life that feels true to who you are? It's not easy, and it's not something that can be done overnight. But it is possible. It starts with small, deliberate choices to spend less time on distractions and more time on the things that matter, to prioritize relationships that nourish you over those that drain you, to create space in your life for reflection, creativity, and stillness. It starts with the decision to live not just efficiently, but meaningfully. And yet, even as we make these choices, we must recognize that the emptiness of modern life is not just an individual problem. It is a systemic issue, one that is deeply rooted in the structures of our society. This is why individual change, while important, is not enough. We must also work to create a culture that values depth, connection, and meaning over speed, efficiency, and consumption. This is no small task, but it is one worth pursuing for ourselves, for each other, and for the generations to come. So let me ask you, what kind of life do you want to live? Not the life you think you're supposed to live, or the life others expect of you, but the life that feels most true, most meaningful, most alive. And what are you willing to let go of in order to make that life possible?